I'm Miss Mould, I'm Head of Psychology. Studying psychology should help to develop your understanding of the mind and using that knowledge and understanding to explain social interactions in society. Over the 2 years you'll cover a range of topics, so we do social, which looks at prejudice and obedience, biological looks at genes and hormones, cognitive looks at memory models and mental processes, and learning looks at imitation and role modelling. We have no coursework in the subject. It's around 25% mathematical skills, and we had around, well, a third of students last year went on to university to study psychology. I'm going to pass you over to Georgina and Lily to explain a little bit more about kind of common questions students have about psychology.
Okay, so what makes a good psychology student?
I think to be a good psychology student, you have to be able to read around the subject, so you have a more broad understanding of what you're learning. And it's very beneficial, especially at university, because when you don't understand things, you will have to read around the subject, and I think that skill is really important to have. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, so it's important to have an interest in the subject that you're going to study. So before I came to Vaughan, I read a few books around psychology, and then during class time when we were discussing some of the studies, I'd already read about them, so it kind of helped me to participate in class, and I already had an understanding of what we were studying. So that was really helpful.
How is the course structured?
So during the first year, we do social and cognitive psychology, and social is all about
Obedience,
obedience and prejudice, and we do stuff like Milgram and like how obedience is affected by like the experimenter and like the authority and proximity and stuff like that. And then cognitive is all about memory models and how like we think short-term and long-term memory are affected and how they interact with each other. And then we do, still during the first year, we do biological and learning theories. And learning theories is all about like how we learn stuff. So there's operant conditioning and classical conditioning and stuff like Pavlov's dogs. And then biological is all about genes and hormones and neurotransmitters. And then during the second year we do health and clinical psychology, and clinical is all about mental disorders and stuff like schizophrenia. And then health psychology is all about addiction and stuff like that. And then over the course of the 2 years we do methods and issues and debates, and like how it's socially, like how it links to society and stuff like that. And then, so what is a typical lesson like?
Well, first we'll answer questions from the lesson before, so just to recap, to make sure that we're going over the content, to make sure that we're understanding and have the knowledge to be able to answer questions. And then we go through content, which is usually in a booklet, and we answer questions, we read about studies, annotate, and then usually at the end we answer some typical exam questions, like 8 markers, depending on which side we're doing. Yeah. What other subjects work well with psychology?
So I found that psychology has worked really well with my English studies, and in some texts that we do, particularly in the Gothic side of English, we do psychoanalytical readings of the text. So concepts such as Freud's theory of personality and like the id and the ego and the superego have helped me to analyse different texts that we're studying in English. And then how do they help you?
I take maths and physics, and it's really beneficial in maths because part of maths there's stats, and it kind of crosses over with psychology, and we learn like standard deviation and a bunch of other things. And I think that helped me understand it, especially because we did that before in psychology, then we went over to do it in maths, so I already had a basis and like basic level understanding of what we were doing. So